Meow, 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 meow. Everybody, I'm Cantonese Cat. Hey everyone, Cantonese Cat here. I'm going to go through the charts for a lot of these software companies, some which are cybersecurity, some which are cloud, but they are getting quite destroyed over this week. Just like Nvidia got destroyed just a few weeks ago, just go down like 10% out of nowhere. They're happening to these kinds of stocks right now. I mean, CRM market cap's not small. I mean, the CRM market cap was like before today's drop was close to around $300 billion. It's not a small market cap for Salesforce, and they dropped a ton today. So I do want to go through a lot of these different cloud, different software stocks to kind of tell you what I'm thinking, what I'm seeing in terms of the technical analysis part of it. I'm going to go through one of the best one I've seen here so far. It's just going to be CrowdStrike. It looks absolutely incredible. This looks like Bitcoin. This looks just like Bitcoin. Like there's no difference between the two in terms of its technicals. If you are bullish on Bitcoin, you should be bullish on CrowdStrike. What it is doing right now is just kind of broke for its previous all-time high. It's doing a little bit of a back test, forming a very, very nice bull flag over here. You got a lot of whales that have come in, significant amount of institutions still heating up over here. Not much retail over here on the monthly. There really is probably still a lot of room to kind of go up. Now, don't get me wrong, on the monthly you do have a little bit of like a nasty kind of looking like a trees or top kind of looking thing. But so far the whale accumulation seems to still be pretty strong for this stock, and so far, as far as I can tell, this is more or less looking more like a bull flag than anything else. Now, just to kind of pull up some of the technicals here, I think it was pretty obvious. Like we just kind of went way too far, way too fast, and we just need to wait for the technicals to kind of catch up, right? We had a bullish cross over here, and the Tengen Kijun cross over here on the monthly back in December, and since then, price just gone way up, right? We're inside the cloud. This is bottom of the clouds just started forming not long ago, and so far the sell volume in April has been absolutely pathetic. So far, we're trying to break out, maybe getting a little bit of rejection here so far for the month of May, but volume also wasn't really that big either. So I think we're waiting for the next move to happen. I don't know when that's going to be. Could it be June? Could it be July? Probably in June. And if you ask me what the consolidation over here would end up resulting after that, it's probably going to be a bull trend continuation after that. The couple other things too, if you also just look at Bollinger Band, it gives you a story. Price just went way far, close about the upper Bollinger Band on the monthly here for 5 months in a row. Simply got way too far, way too fast, and it cooled down. When it cooled down, it naturally gravitated to the upper Bollinger Band because it's a bull trend, but so far it's getting a little bit rejected over there. Bollinger Band is still expanding though. 20-month moving average is still pointing up. This is what Danny would refer to as crocodile opening his mouth. Just like what you're seeing here, the whales are hungry, the institutions are hungry. There is a lot of momentum there going on right now, and we're just needing to cool down here a little bit. If you look at the RSI, you can see that we were way overbought over here, and we just needed to cool down. I'm not really seeing any significant bearish diversions. Price to try to go up higher, right? And you do see that when it was doing that, it has a little bit of a bearish diversion. It's kind of limiting its up move. But don't get me wrong, I think price can keep on going up on bearish divergence, and conditions for being overbought can go on for quite some time because you have a lot of institutions that are in already. Again, if you're bullish on Bitcoin, you should be bullish on CrowdStrike because they're basically the same chart, which is just absolutely incredible to look at. I marvel at this chart. If you look at the smaller time frame, like if you just look at what CrowdStrike is doing, it had a negative day today, close to 10%. So what? Went back down, tested the bull market support band right now. Looks like it's probably going to end up finding support here, right? If you just look at the, let me pull out this here. If you just look at the Ichimoku cloud, like basically just getting close to the weekly Tengen, like this whole thing right here still looks like bull trend, still looks like it wants to probably continue. The problem is, I do see a little bit of a bearish divergence over here, and I think bearish divergence is starting to kind of play out. You have a little bit of a higher high over here, but the RSI is making a little bit of a lower high. So you have a bearish divergence over here is probably cooling down. This probably is the candle to really trying to cool down and trying to work out this bearish divergence before price continuation. How far is this going to go down? I think it's anybody's guess. But just looking at the fact that it's right at the bull market support band, I mean, it could hit the bottom. It could even go down a little bit further. It can go underneath like 300 here a little bit. Most likely that would be it. I'm not even sure it's necessarily going to do that. It already back tested the previous all-time high over here and bounced in a very, very impulsive way, although the volume didn't really show it. And there's still a pretty significant number of whales are in here for the weekly, although the whale seems to have just a little bit weakened, but I don't think this is really necessarily a cause for concern. Again, if you're bullish on Bitcoin, you should be bullish on CrowdStrike. That's going to be the message here. I'm not going to post some of the other indicators, but I just want to kind of let you know the message in terms of what I'm seeing here. The other stock that I also obviously am very, very bullish on for a very long time that's related to the space, software space, AI space, is going to be Palantir. Palantir is also best of class. If you just pull up the monthly chart, it looks like a very, very nice formation that's forming right now. Big, giant green candle, huge volume. Lots of whales came in, not much retail. Things had to cool down, right? Cool down. What did it do? It went and formed a very, very nice bull flag over here for 3 months. And you really gave the bears month number 1, 2, and 3 trying to push down the price as far as possible to try to reverse this big giant green candle. They're not really able to do anything. The volume is pathetic. The selling is pathetic. I think they're just selling at like 27, 25 to 27. They're just doing it for the heck of it because these are traders. They have to trade. They just have to do it. I think these people are probably end up regretting every single share that they sell here for years to come, because I think Palantir is probably going to get up, going a lot higher. We were stuck in a range, right? What does this range come about? Well, this range came about from 2020 2021. You're basically stuck in this range for a whole year, right? So you would not really anticipate you just kind of push about this range like it's nothing, right? But if it does push about this range, watch out. I mean, you're really talking about not much resistance here beyond that. You're really talking about a volume shelf. On top of volume shelf is probably around 27, 28. If you ever push above the upper 20s, you can probably have some pretty impulsive price action that can move up a lot further, right? And what do you call this when you have a big giant green candle, you have 3 candles after that form a very nice bull flag, but not really able to push down any further? What do you call this? It's called a rising 3 methods. You just Google it. Basically have a big giant green candle allowing bears to kind of do the thing. Bears trying really, really hard, trying to walk downstairs, not able to go down any further. And bulls sniff out the weakness of bears, and they just say, hey, you know what? You had your chance. I'm going to take over. Bam! Shoot right up, right? And Palantir had a history of doing this. It didn't really quite do a rising 3 methods here. It did like a little bit of a rising 2 method. It just couldn't wait because this earning was just way too good. So what you really end up having is just a big giant green candle over here, reverse all these action and more, right? Right now I think like we're kind of building up a very similar setup over here. Could end up having a green candle, end up hitting some rejection over here, possibly, because there is a lot of resistance over here, right? But watch out if it does break through. I think it's going to be pretty impressive afterwards. Again, I equate this kind of setup to what I really remember MicroStrategy did around $700. Very, very similar look, right? Ranging around here under like 700, 800 here for about a whole year, around 2020, 2021, so around there, right? Instead of spending like 3 or 4 months like Palantir is doing, you just spend a month over here, got rejected very drastically from like 800, 700 something all the way down to like 400 something, right? And I find support bounce way up. So I think once you're really able to break about this range, like it can really go pretty crazy. Like it just went on more than double after that, the month after, right? I'm not saying the Palantir is going to end up doing that, but I do think that there are a lot of similarities here. Whales are also in, right? Selling volume is getting really pathetic. This volume candle over here is actually bigger than the last 2 over here, but this is also a little bit of doji, right? So bears and bulls are fighting. Looks like bulls are trying to step in here. Perhaps next month or the month after that to try and push up a lot higher. That's kind of what it's looking like to me. So Palantir is also the best of class. I don't even need to put any like fancy indicators. If you want me to, I can. You have the monthly conversion line or the Tenkin. You have a bullish cross over here, right? And it's been serving as support. This is a bull trend. On a bull trend, the blue line, Tenkin line, serve as support. We push price up higher. That's exactly what it's doing. On a bear trend, is a resistance, right? So far so good. You look at the bull market support band on the weekly. It's trying to reclaim it. You know, sometimes it goes underneath of it for a couple of weeks or even a few weeks over here, but it looks like Palantir wants to reclaim it. 20-week moving average is very nicely pointing up, and Palantir is trying to get back above it, looks like. So far so good. You do have a little bit of cooling of whales, but again, every single time you have a parabolic run like this, it's not surprising for Palantir to kind of cool down for a couple months afterwards. That's what it does. If you also look at the weekly Ichimoku Cloud, you can see a very, very nice bull trend. Try to get back above the Kijin over here. But whenever it wants to, it can just kind of slice through these things. You know, like it doesn't really matter all that much. What really matters more is probably the higher time frame. It just looks so obviously bullish. Like it's not even funny. Like this is a very, very nice rising 3 method that's building up over here so far on declining volume. So the next move, if it's going to be a big move, most likely it's going to be up and most likely it's going to be explosive. I just don't know when that's going to be. So that's also the best of class, really, for the whole software, cloud, AI space, if you will. CRM, Salesforce, they're different. You know, I guess you can count them as a software technology company, but we're not really sure in terms of their AI components and things like that. I think that's probably why the narrative was coming into place, why Wall Street really was selling off, because there's some doubts in terms of whether or not, why did they miss earnings by like a little marginally a little bit, and end up just everybody just kind of freaking out. Probably really strong overreaction, to be completely honest with you. Now with Salesforce, I'm just gonna have to zoom out here. Look at a monthly here. I'm gonna pull up some of the other indicators. Obviously, it's going to try to find support here at this horizontal zone, right? There's a lot of history over here, right? As support broke down, back tested, couldn't get back over, broke down further, right? Went back above, rejected, pushed through, and back testing this horizontal zone right here. So far, this is like nothing to be worried about. You basically broke above this volume shelf over here. There's a lot of price history over here that is trying to work out, right? So far as finding support over there. And if you look at a bigger picture in terms of what it's trying to do, one thing to really look at is just to put up the monthly Bollinger Band. It's finding support right at the 20-month moving average that's pointing up. So if anything, it's a little bit retracing from, way outside up the Bollinger Band over here back to the mean. That's kind of what it's doing. Is it a little bit of overcorrection? Probably, but it's retracing back to the mean, and so far, based on what I'm seeing, nothing more. High volume though, it does look a little bit scary, right? But so far, nothing more than that. A couple other indicators to kind of look at here. If you pull up the monthly Ichimoku Cloud, I'm going to turn off the Bollinger Band here. You can see that basically a very similar story, right? It broke inside Ichimoku Cloud, had a bullish cross over here, went up above the cloud, and it never really quite back tested the cloud. It looks like that's kind of what it's doing. Ideally, you would like to not see it slam over back to the cloud on a high volume like that, but that's exactly what it did. What are you going to do? Didn't really find support at the top of the cloud, didn't really find support at the Tenkin, didn't really find support at the Kijin, but there is a lot of confluence of support down here, like bottom of the cloud, Kijin is right there. You remember the 20-month moving average is right there as well, and also remember about the volume shelf over here, right? So a lot of confluence of support over here. Most likely, this support is, fingers crossed, going to hold. You did end up having a lot of whales end up exiting during this time, but I think it's okay to have whales kind of temporarily exiting when they're scared. If overall you have more whales coming in, you still have a very, very strong bull trend overall, right? You do have a little bit of higher low over here compared to over here. So this is still technically a bull trend, although it just looks very scary because it looks like it's like just kind of rolling over. It looks like it's kind of getting a little bit tired, right? But if you look at the Bollinger Band, again, it's getting a little bit squeezy. It's just trying to work out its technicals. It still can look like this. It still can look like it's going to roll over, and doesn't, right? Has Salesforce done this before? Yes, it has. Like, look at the bull market from before. It has done these things where it went from upper Bollinger Band to lower Bollinger Band, went back, tested 20, and bounced from the 20-month moving average, just keep bouncing up, right? So who is there to say that it's not just one of those bouncy ball situation, and Salesforce really does need this 20-month moving average as support to kind of push price a lot higher, right? The only concern right now is the high volume, but so far you still have plenty of support over here on the monthly cloud and on the 20-month moving average, kind of pointing up. The couple other things too, if you look at the weekly cloud, let me get rid of this Bollinger Band for now. If you look at a weekly cloud, you can see that, hey, that's another confluence of support, right? All of this is really just went out in space and it had to back test the cloud. And it's sticking into the cloud, and it's probably going to end up serving as some kind of support, right? The other couple of things I want to show you too is, I'm going to get rid of this indicator here, although it did end up having a lot of whale cool down there, unfortunately. And the selling of this big giant candle is high volume. But a couple other things. One is you look at RSI. The other one is you look at on balance volume. You can see something here. Actually, imbalance volume didn't really show you that much. I'm going to get rid of that. But if you look at RSI, you can see from here, price has gone up, right? And from here, price has gone up, right? But the RSI has cooled down downwards. Cool down downwards, right? So this is why we call it hidden bullish divergence. These are very, very classic hidden bullish divergence. So you actually having, even though price has kind of gone down and smacked down like that, you have a lot of potential confluence of support over here. Volume show, each moving cloud, weekly, monthly, 20-month moving average pointing up. On top of that, you also have a lot of bullish divergences on the RSI too, to basically telling you that, hey, things may not be as bad as it looks. So that's kind of the take-home message here too. There are a couple of other things that go along with the fact that it's actually not looking bad. First of all, if you're a Bollinger Band trader, like when things are just way outside of the lower Bollinger Band, usually it serves, like at some point it can serve as a little bit of a magnet, at least to kind of retrace a little bit, right? On the daily, it looks like it's just in space, and there's a lot of these kind of stocks that look like this, right? It was squeezing, big moves coming, and it just boom, it just went all the way down, right? We went way underneath the lower Bollinger Band. Price tends to want to gravitate up towards, or the lower Bollinger Band will continue to expand downwards to kind of meet it at some point. Right? There are a lot of these like Bollinger Band traders where they just look at these Bollinger Band close just way outside and ends up having to gravitate back in the Bollinger Band, right? Like over here, it went way outside of Bollinger Band, right? And then it gravitating down a little bit. Right? Here, way outside of a Bollinger Band. It's not even as bad as this one. This just absolutely incredible daily Bollinger Band close over here, way outside, right? And you see like way outside of a Bollinger Band, had to gravitate back down, retrace back to the mean. So these things just keeps on happening throughout history. There are going to be some time when you just went bam like this. I think this candle over here is probably very, very similar to the current candle over here, but the opposite way, right? Where it's just way outside in space, and it's just keep on bam going up. But eventually you have to retrace back down to the mean, and eventually this trend got exhausted from that crazy candle. So there is a potential that we are close to a bottom for CRM, and we may be going up from here over the next 3 to 6 months or so. Or maybe even sooner, maybe even 3 to 6 weeks, to be completely honest with you. So that's something to consider, to look at this, which is just an absolutely incredible chart. One more I want to show you next. I'm going to go through these rather quickly here, because I want to show you a couple other ones here too. One that I do own, I own Palantir. I don't own CrowdStrike, I own Bitcoin. I also don't own CRM, although I certainly have exposure to it with index funds and things like that. But I do have a position in Cloudflare. My average price is probably around like the high, I think it's like probably in the low 50s now, because I averaged up a little bit recently. What you're seeing here is big giant bad candle down, this whole this whole few months has been absolutely atrocious, right? When things went all the way up, a lot of people got really excited when that went to like triple digits on good earnings, and sure enough, like it's just way too overexhausted, and it just wasn't sustainable, right? Like if I put up the MCDX plus, a lot of people got really super bullish over here, especially on the monthly. People got really super bullish over here. Look, oh well, is it coming in? There's a lot of momentum, but I didn't add over here. I mean, I was buying down here. I didn't add over here. I think it was way too far extended. If you just look at a Bollinger Band, like it's just way too far overextended. It just wasn't sustainable. And I think this wick over here showed a lot of exhaustion, and it's probably why it ended up having to trace back to the mean, to the 20-month moving average. And right now, a lot of the institutional whales have kind of starting to cool down here a little bit. But we're right at support. We're right at a lot of different support over here. I did like a little chart over here to show you what it is. First of all, you look at the volume weighted average price from almost like the lowest point over here. You can see that we're right at that support over there, right? So the VWAP looks very, very nice as support. 20-month moving average also serves as support right there, right? If you also pull up the Ichimoku Cloud on the weekly, you can see that we're right at support, right? You also add the volume shelf support over here too. Very, very nice volume shelf support over there, right? So on top of all that, you also have a hidden bullish divergence that's building up. Now this one, you do have a hidden bullish divergence on, I don't want to pay more. Who wants to pay more? Hidden bullish divergence on both the unbalanced volume as well as the RSI. So both of these are showing some, pretty nice hidden bullish divergence here. As price kind of gone up from here to that point. RSI reset downwards, and open volume, unbalanced volume also went downwards, right? So these are very nice bullish divergence. Actually tells you that this move over here, even there's a big giant correction, finding a lot of confluence of support, right? And also finding a lot of these kind of bullish momentum that might be building up here to potentially reverse this bear trend. That's kind of what I'm seeing here when it comes to Cloudflare. Now, don't get me wrong, it's still going to be a lot of resistance on the way up. It's nice to have bullish divergence. It's nice to have, confluence of support. But, you do have a little bit of resistance on Tengen Kijun over here on the monthly. It's going to take some time probably. But the good thing is, you did have a bullish crossover here. You did end up having a bullish crossover here, and Tengen is currently above the Kijun, but price is way below too, both of them. So unfortunately, that's just the nature of it. But you have to consider, that actually doesn't look bad. I added some today at this confluence of support, and there's not really, any reason not to add at support and remain bullish at support. I'm gonna go through a couple other ones over here real quick. A lot of people ask about C3AI. What do I think about C3AI? Today went up a lot, but the truth is, I always get skeptical when things went up a lot. But you're right at resistance, pretty much an all-time frame. Let me show you here what I meant by that. This is the monthly chart, right? On the Ichimoku cloud, you have a beginning of a cloud over here. Price hasn't been around for that long, so you have a little bit of cloud over there. You have Tengen Kijun over here, had a bullish cross over here, maybe getting a little bit of a bearish cross over here, serving as resistance for price, right? On the monthly. On the 2-week, you're underneath the cloud, you broke underneath the cloud, you're trying to break into the cloud, but the top of the cloud is going to be resistance. And the Tengen over here, the blue line here, is going to be as resistance, right? What happens on a weekly? Well, you have the Kijun over here at the bottom of the cloud over here too, and that's resistance, right? What happened on the daily? Well, you're trying to break back into the cloud on the daily cloud and getting rejected from the top of the cloud. So there's a lot of resistance here to be considered. If you're looking also back at the weekly moving averages, if you look at weekly moving averages, it actually doesn't look too bad. Weekly moving average, including the 20 and 100, you're able to reclaim both of those, right? But you see another rejection over here at the 50-week moving average, right? Another level of resistance here. So there's a lot of confluence of resistance that it's trying to hit into. I'm just not sure whether or not it's going to break into it. For like a smaller cap stock like C3AI, it can get pretty volatile if you end up getting rejected. Things can be pretty violent from that. So I don't know. We'll see. I do think that rejection is probably coming, but I do have one thing that I do feel very, very good about C3 AI. I'm going to pull up the MCDX up here just to kind of let you know, yeah, you have a little bit increased well coming here. So generally a little bit of a bullish sign, maybe a little bit more momentum for it. But the one thing that is really key is you want to combine the MCDX also together with volume, right? With selling volume has really been just declining, buying volume going up, selling volume going down, buying volume up, selling volume down. And right now you have a little bit of increase in buying volume over here too. So this whole thing kind of tells me that maybe there's a little bit more of accumulation rather than distribution. And the whales never really left. I mean, like sometimes they cool down, but overall they're still there. So it does make me wonder about, this could potentially be a pretty good setup with the only biggest exception that is right at the confluence of resistance here that I cannot ignore, right? It's just a lot of resistance over here that I just cannot ignore, right? So I would not expect anything immediate. It probably is going to end up range bound for a little longer before breaking out, but it doesn't look too bad. So that is C3 AI. And let's talk about one of the favorites on the retail community, which is Snowflake. Snowflake on the weekly, the whales have has left, unfortunately. The whole thing about Snowflake is it's a little bit unfortunate because it looks like initially there's like a lot of very, very bullish momentum that was going into it, and there's also a lot of very, very kind of bullish look to this as well. I'm going to get rid of the GAN over here. I'm going to come back to that a little bit later. But initially you have a very, very nice kind of ascending triangle look to it, but it ended up breaking above of that, but ended up having a big, significant, big drop of price downwards on huge volume. Is trying to find support back at the bottom of the triangle, but end up breaking down on it further. Right now, you don't really have a whole heck of a lot of whale to really help support the price, unfortunately. Right, whales are kind of leaving over here. It's not looking very, very decent over here. Although you're hitting back at this horizontal similar support, which can potentially serve as pretty decent support moving forward. But still, a little bit concerning if you just look at the Ichimoku cloud as well. Big breakout initially, followed by a big downward trend, went back inside the cloud, couldn't hold the cloud, now it's falling out of the cloud. A little bit concerning there. A couple of other things to look at for Snow too. If you look at just the bull market support band, serve as resistance, couldn't break back above. It's very, very negative sloping, broke down of it, right? And if you also just kind of zoom back out to a little bit higher time frame over here, you just pull up the Bollinger Band, 20-month moving average also pointing down, and it also got rejected for a month of May. So there are quite a lot of different things that are a little bit concerning, I guess, in terms of where price is going to go. Like right now, it just doesn't really have any momentum going for it at all. It keeps on getting rejected by these kind of negative sloping moving averages. Even the Ichimoku cloud with the technical indication on the monthly here, they're both above. You did have a little bit of bullish cross, but it doesn't mean too much if they're both resistance above, right? So that's a little bit concerning, if you will. Where is price going to go from there? Well, let's look at what I can show you on the daily. Look at how like cool down it is. Like there's really no big institutional buying pressure right now at this point, right? But let's look at the Bollinger Band on the daily. Right now, it's just like a lot of the other software stocks, if you will. It's just kind of closing way underneath the lower Bollinger Band. So I think maybe things are just a little bit way too far overextended to the downside. Most likely, you're going to have some kind of retracement to the mean here in a little bit. Right? And that's one thing to consider. The other thing to consider too is I'm going to pull the GAN back here. I'm not a GAN master. I'm not doing this based on mathematical model. I'm basically using eyeball and best fit to see how many lines and how many points it touches. And I think I came up with a pretty good GAN over here. What you're going to see here is a pretty interesting picture. I'm going to, even weekly tells you even a lot better picture here. What I'm really seeing here is that it went from the bottom, from the very bottom of here, when got rejected, even though it broke through this arc over here, got rejected by the top arc up here. Went back down, trying to find support down at these angles. Eventually was able to use these angles to kind of push price back above, trying to back test the arc again. Was not able to hold. Went back tested the arc down here for a very painful 3 to 4 months. Bounced, right? Bounced through the arc, back test the arc, went to the next arc. Looking very, very good, but high volume breakdown on this arc over here. And right now we're trying to back test the arc, fell to hold, and came back down. I think we're getting pretty close to some pretty important support down here on this angle. It's tough to say, right? I mean, like the angles are not perfect, and I'm also not really doing it mathematically. I'm just basically doing it based on eyeball. But that's the story that I'm seeing. This really big, huge volume sell-off had really done a lot of technical damage. And right now we're trying to find support. We're trying to break back above, but we're not able to. I don't think price is going to go down to like 111. I think most likely in finding some kind of support down here at this level, maybe a little bit below. But I think that's probably as far as Snowflake would go. Nobody knows, right? Even if it does find a local bottom over here, you might end up having a lot of headwind, resistance, right? Resistance. Right? You might have a few resistance above. Same thing with the Ichimoku Cloud, resistance up here, right? Even the conversion line or tanking over here so far is serving as resistance. Like price broke down, and that's going to be another resistance level to break above, right? So even though I think we had a local bottom over here, it's still not quite ready, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And another thing is too, like, is there any like true bullish momentum that's building up here? Let's look at the RSI. I'm not really seeing any bullish divergences. I'm sorry. I'm just not really seeing any. I can squint my eyes and try to see some bullish divergences. I'm just not really seeing any. It just looks like the momentum is exactly showing what price is doing. So I'm not really seeing anything that's like hidden or something like that. I say, I think you might be slowing down with this momentum. I just think that we have sold off enough. It might even wick down a little bit further, but we have a good horizontal zone over here. And on the GAN, you might be finding a little bit of support. So we'll see. But that's kind of what I'm seeing here with Snowflake. Couple other ones to kind of show you here too. Twilio, real quick. It's looking okay. It's looking okay because it did have this kind of ascending triangle look to it, which generally is leaning bullish because you have a lot of supply up here, but you have increasing demand pushing price up to try to meet the supply above. And once the supply breaks, you go up, right? But again, like you would think that was the case for Snowflake. I was showing you. It also looks a little bit like a same triangle, but it broke down of it. So it's really hard to say for sure. But that still, you're still right at support. So at support, you're supposed to give it a little bit more of a benefit of the doubt. If you look at the MCDX, though, you're losing momentum here a little bit, right? But it's okay. Like when it gets down to the support, you can lose some momentum. That's okay. Whales have not really like left. They're not as nearly as strong as it was over here, but whales haven't really left, right? If you look at it weekly, the whales are looking very, very weak from this big giant, down move over here. So you're really having a little bit of a lack of momentum view, although that's still like a very, very nice ascending triangle over here. The couple other things to look at the 20-month moving average, that also serves a little bit as a resistance. Unfortunately, even though it has a little bit of bullish formation, you have some resistance over here. It does look like it wants to change trend because the 20-month moving average is going down and bullish band is squeezing. So it's probably going to end up picking a direction one way or another. I doubt it's going to go down to like 11, right? So it's probably going to end up pushing up, but you might have a lot of crazy volatility over here for months and months and months before really finding its true direction to go upwards. So the other thing that actually looks pretty decent for it is if you look at it weekly, you look at all the moving averages, 20, 50, and 100, they're starting to bundle together. I mean, prices underneath all of these, don't get me wrong, right? But when you're having these moving averages really start to bundle together, you might end up having an easier time to build up a bull trend. All you really take is just like one pretty big bullish candle and sustain price up above that, and all of these could end up turning favorable, and you might end up developing a bull trend over here for Twilio. So that's one good thing about it. But with that said, you're still underneath the market support band, right? So underneath the 20-week moving average, as well as underneath the 20-month moving average, sometimes that's a little bit less favorable. But it's trying. I like this ascending triangle look. So I think I'll label Twilio as questionable in terms of that. One that has been absolutely brutal is UiPath. Oh man, this is absolutely devastating. I'm sorry if you end up, it's not a good day for UiPath. Whales have initially started to come in a little bit, but they're really they're really not there anymore. They're really losing momentum even from this big candle over here. They're really losing a lot of momentum from the month of April. And the month of May has just been absolutely devastating. It slides through the 20-month moving average like it wasn't even there. If you look at the Ichimoku Cloud, it's looking as, you did start to get a little bit of bullish crossover here, but same story, right? Price got slammed by both of these moving period averages, got slammed down, and both of these are going to be resistance from here on out, right? It's not a good look, unfortunately. Just go to the weekly chart just to kind of show you the Ichimoku Cloud was unable to serve as support. All the times when you're able to get close to Ichimoku Cloud, you're at a catalyst, right? Your earnings, right? It can potentially bounce up very big, or it can break down underneath of it. Usually as support, you'd be a little bit more bullish, right? But it just didn't work out for UiPath. It just went down 30-something% today. It's just absolutely devastating. Wells have just really been gone. It's not. Yeah. If you look at the Super Ichi Cloud, it's going to probably also tell you a better story here. Price tried to broke inside, and then again broke down again, right? It's not the best look, I gotta say, but you already know that because price went down 36%. So what I'm trying to say here, what do I have in terms of something that's positive to say? I do have quite a few things that are positive to say. And I do think that these things don't necessarily have to work out, but there are things to consider based on just how oversold it is. It's just absolutely oversold. Like, it's way underneath the weekly lower Bollinger Band. It's way underneath the daily lower Bollinger Band, right? These things, when it gets down like this, I mean, it can, don't get me wrong, just like over here, right? I went way outside the upper Bollinger Band here to the upside, right? And it can end up sustaining for like months and months and months. Like we're here in this case, like weeks and weeks and months before things kind of close the gap. But over here, like I can potentially see this being like very close to the bottom. It might even go down a little bit further, right? But it can take like weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks for it to kind of really correct over time. That's a big volume selling candle over here. You're going to have some exhaustion of bears, and they could keep going for a little bit, but eventually it's going to go up. If you buy here, probably going to do pretty well, unless you think the company's going to go bankrupt. And based on the financials that show that there are no signs that that's going to be the case. If anything, they're growing their business. They have a significant cash position to kind of weather the storm. So I don't know. I mean, this is just a little bit overreaction to what earnings was. A couple other things too. If you just go back to the monthly, look at a higher time frame, what are you going to see that's bullish here on the monthly? Well, you're really talking about you seeing whether or not there's any potential bullish momentum that's building, because it's been such a bearish candle. Is there any bullish momentum that's actually going on? The answer is yes, right? I'm going to show you it again here in a second. Just ignore that. But basically, price has gone down, but RSI has been still going up. This is a pretty classic bullish divergence, right? But you can see this bullish divergence is actually at different time frames. Here, well, maybe not here, but you can see Overall, on the monthly here, you're seeing a little bit of a bullish divergence over here. So you might be getting relatively close to the bottom, if not have already gotten to the bottom. Okay. But it could still take a while to kind of repair it, don't get me wrong. I did try to fit price action into GAN. Again, I'm not doing it mathematically, I'm just doing it based on whether or not it touches enough points, based on trying to get an idea in terms of what it's trying to do. What I'm really seeing here is this. It's been getting supported from this angle all the way up here, trying to break through the arc here, broke through, back test, find angle support, angle bounce during this range over here, trying to break through above this arc, rejected, finally broke through, right? Went to the next arc, went inside the arc, couldn't get any further, got a little bit exhausted, went back down, trying to bounce from the angle. We're hoping to have the angle really trying to help push you through this next arc over here, right? Nope, end up not doing that. What do you end up doing? End up pushing it all the way downwards, right? Now, if you look at here, I can probably fit this a little bit better. There you go. If you look at here, if I'm able to fit this a little bit better, I think it gives you a little bit better picture. Got rejected from the arc up here, and it's basically trying to find some support down here. It could go all the way back down to challenge this low. It's possible, but like at this point, this candle over here, I don't have much else besides just how oversold it is. Like it's just absolutely incredible in terms of how oversold it is on the daily. The RSI is like in the low teens. This is just an absolutely insane sell-off. I don't think it's sustainable, but it could take time to repair. I guess that's the only saving grace for Path. If you buy here, I think it's probably going to end up working well for you longer term. But you do have to have patience, and you do have to understand that there's always going to be some opportunity costs right there. And I generally don't say that because I generally have more of an investment mindset than I do have a trader mindset. But there is opportunity cost, and opportunity cost is real. So I'm going to talk about just one more of these like beaten down stock. This is probably the worst one of all. I sold out of Unity because I just couldn't handle this descending triangle look anymore, and I sold it in the low 20s at the bottom of this range, and that would have probably been said to be a silly thing to do because you're selling at support, but it's just been looking weaker and weaker and weaker, and I thought that this could potentially break through. It broke through, went back down a lot further. Right now it's in the high teens. The thing about it is that there are a lot of positivity in terms of technicals if you're one of those knife catchers to potentially think that this might work out pretty well for you in the long run, and it might still work out well for you in the long run. You're still having a little bit of a bullish divergence over here on the monthly, although the RSI is is low. The price just keeps on going down, and price can just keep going down on bullish divergence. Like it doesn't matter. It doesn't care what I have to say about it, because it can just keep going down and down and down on bullish divergence. It does not care. Initially, you do have a little bit of a bullish divergence here on the unbalanced volume, but that has since been lost. Like right now, you may still have a little bit of a relative bullish divergence over here, but like it's not. Yeah. So I still when I was telling people, I was buying over here, like I was telling everybody, yes, I'm buying falling knife, and sure enough, like when it gets down to here, and when I was seeing everything else, like at some point I do have to think about opportunity costs. I cut my loss, and it just kept going down. It's unfortunate. Do I think that there's a possibility that we may have bottomed over here? Possible, because it's already pushing through underneath the lower Bollinger Band, and this is some very, very, very oversold condition over here. On the weekly, it kept on just kind of bouncing to the lower Bollinger Band, just kept on going downwards, right? And on the daily, it just kept on riding the lower Bollinger Band downwards like that. A little bit concerning because obviously you keep on going down, right? But it's very, very oversold. If you look at the RSI on the daily, it's very, very oversold, but it can stay oversold. I am not in this anymore. I shifted my money and I bought the 2x version of the Bitcoin ETF in anticipation of a potential breakout of Bitcoin above its resistance. So I don't know what to tell you if you are still holding. I did announce when I sold off of Unity totally, like right around here. I did announce that, and I cannot tell you what to do moving forward. I am not really seeing anything good about this chart, with the exception that is way oversold. But that's also, you do have a buildup of the bullish diversion that's been going on the monthly for quite some time. But there's no guarantee that prices are going to go down further. You can also always look at this as a descending, broadening wedge kind of thing, or you can look at this as just like a downward channel. You can keep drawing these lines, and eventually one of these days, when there's increased global liquidity, it could reverse, and you could end up having a break above this range over here and bounce up. I don't know when that day would be. I like catching falling knives, but I also sometimes exit them when I see a better opportunity. So anyway, that's a little bit of a long video. I figured that a lot of people would want to know what I think about this downturn. A lot of these software stocks went through a lot of them. A lot of them has gone through some pretty brutal correction this week, and some of them has been going on for months. But anyway, thank you so much for listening. Have a good one. Bye.